Tanghali po sa inyong lahat, no? Ako po ay nagbo-broadcast galing po sa aking tahanan ngayon dahil alam niyo naman po, no, si Secretary Anyo ay nag-positive at binabuti na po namin mag-self-quarantine ngayon, no? Ito man po ay 5 araw tapos kami po ay magpapa-PCR test para naman makabalik na sa trabaho, no? So simulan na po natin ngayon ang ating press briefing, no? Unang-una po ay matutuloy po ang ating address o pag-uusap ng ating Pangulo mamayang gabi sa Taong Bayan, no? At malalaman po natin kung ano magiging classification ng Metro Manila at ng mga karatig na probinsya na Cavite, Laguna at saka Rizal, kasama na ang Bulacan. Alam ko po, napakadaming fake news ngayon. Ang dami ko nang nakita mga fake social cards kung ano daw ang magiging klasifikasyon. Huwag niyo pong paniwalaan yan. Antayin na lang po natin mamayang gabi po ang sasabihin ng ating presidente, no? Anyway, ang klasifikasyon naman po natin ay talagang hinimay-himay po yan ng IATF. Nakabase po yan doon sa tinatawag na case doubling rate, yung mga clusters ng kaso ng COVID sa ibang lugar, at saka yung critical care capacity. Pero siguro po, without preempting the President, ngayon pong araw na ito ay nag-inaugurate po tayo ng 250 additional bed capacity dito po sa East Avenue Medical Center sa Quezon City na gagamitin po to exclusively para sa mga pasyente ng COVID. So kung kulang man dati-rate yung ating mga kama para sa mga COVID patients, naibsan na po yan dahil ngayon po meron na tayong 250 bed capacity. Now, pumunta naman po tayo sa COVID updates natin, no? Meron na po tayong 46,002 active cases ng COVID sa ating bansa. Sa mga aktibong kaso nito, 90.7% naman po ay mild, 6.7 po ang asymptomatic, 1.1% po ang severe, at 1.5 po ang critical. Ang mabuting balita naman po ay napakarami pong mga gumagaling. Kahapon po nag-report ng mahigit na 40,000 ang nakarecover, sang-ayon na rin po ito sa WHO Beijing Mission Report. So matutal po ay meron na tayong 112,586 recoveries, samantalang meron naman pong 2,655 naman po ang binawian ng buhay. Nakikiramay po kami sa mga biktima. Now, nakagawian na po natin na bago po magtalumpati ang presidente sa Taong Bayan ay magkakaroon po tayo ng pagpupulong, no? Magkakaroon po ng pagpupulong ang presidente sa ilang mga miyembro ng gabinete at ng IATF. Tuloy pa rin po ito, bagamat this will be a virtual conference. Dahil minabuti nga po namin na dahil nga po nagpositibo ang isa sa amin na pag-ingatan po ang kalusugan ng presidente, virtual meeting po ang mangyayari mamaya, pero televised address po ang magiging mensahe ng ating Pangulo mamayang gabi. So okay, ngayon naman po, meron po tayong dalawang makakasama, no? Unang-una po ang ating Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship, wala pong iba si Joey Concepcion. Sila po ang merong proyekto na ang tawag ay Project Art. At ngayon naman po, ang kanilang proyekto in coordination with the BDO Foundation po, BDO Foundation, hindi ako nagkakamali, sila po ay merong game changer. Ito po ang tinatawag na pooled testing. Ang pooled testing po, ang isang test kit gagamitin sa anywhere between 5 to 10 individuals. Kung lahat po sila negatibo, lahat sila negatibo. Pero kung positibo, hahanapin kung sino doon sa 5 hanggang 10 ang naging positibo. Ibig sabihin po nito, maski meron na tayong 2 million tests, halos 2 million tests, no, na nakokonduct, mas marami pang tests ang pwede natin gawin. Sa natitira nating 800,000 testing kits, so pwedeng times 5 yon or times 10. No? Depende nga po kung ilan yung gagamitin nila sa pooled testing. So kasama rin po natin ngayon si Marikina Mayor Marcelino Teodoro para naman po bigyan tayo ng update sa mga hakbang na ginagawa ng mga lokal na pamahalaan dito sa Metro Manila. Ang nais nating malaman dito kay Mayor Marikina Mayor Teodoro, sabihin na natin na ang mangyayari sa Pilipinas o sa Metro Manila at sa karatig na probinsya ay magkakaroon ng localized lockdown paano po ito patutupad at paano pa po ang mga hakbang na gagawin ng mga lokal na pamahalaan para nga po labanan ang COVID-19. So unahin na po natin si Presidential Advisor on Entrepreneurship, speaking on behalf of Project ARC, PA Joey, the floor is yours. PA Joey. Nako, wala atang connection si PA Joey, no? Hindi ko po alam kung ano nangyari kay PA Joey, pero technical, is there a way of inviting PA Joey in or Mayor Teodoro in? Mayor, pasensya na po at medyo this is the first time na nag-home broadcast po ang presidential press briefing. Pero Mayor, bukas po magkakaroon tayo ng bagong classification, pero kahit anong classification pa po yan, tingin ko malinaw na magkakaroon po tayo ng localized or granular lockdown at mukhang malinaw din po na may mga bagong hakbang na gagawin tayo na ang lokal na pamahalaan ay magiging mas aktibo, no? More than ever now. So, ano po mga hakbang na gagawin po natin sa Marikina regardless of kung ano po yung classification natin na anunsyo mamayang gabi ng ating presidente?
Tama po yun, Sec. Harry. Yung paghahanda kailangan at kung ano man yung decision should be based on the ground information that we have on the ground. Kung sakali man ma-downgrade or kung sakali man ma-upgrade yung quarantine level, we should always be prepared to implement community quarantine. At ang isang ginagawa sa Marikina, for example, Sec. Harry, aktibo kami dun sa contact tracing. At based on the contact tracing, na-establish namin yung tamang data at doon namin ibinabase kung kailangan i-lockdown o i-quarantine yung isang area. Hindi tayo nagla-lockdown ngayon on a larger scale dahil nakikita natin yung epekto nito sa ekonomiya natin. Kaya nga mahalaga yung mga tamang datos na meron tayo.
Okay. Mayor, kasapi ba ho kayo kahapon sa meeting ng mga Metro Manila Mayors?
Opo, nag-meeting ho kami kagabi at halos sinabot na kami ng maghahating gabi at may kaisahan naman ng mga Metro Manila Mayors na kailangan maging handaan lahat. At nakikita nga namin na yung new normal mahalagang mapaghandaan lalo na dun sa minimum health standard na i-require natin sa ating mga mamamayan. Yung mga social distancing measures natin, quarantine na palong. In fact, sa Marikina, nung bago kayo magkausap ni Mayor Magalong, 3 lamang ang aming contact tracing team. Ngayon po, based on the computation na binigay niya sa atin, nag-increase po tayo, may 10 na po tayong contact tracing team. At yung 1:35 ratio ng isang positive, nakakapag-contact trace tayo ng 30 hanggang 30 individual, ay nagagawa na po natin dito ngayon sa Marikina. Ang pinakamahalaga po na nakikita po namin is time is of essence. Tulad na sinasabi nga ni Mayor Magalong, within 24 hours, once na may detection ay natitrace mo agad. Sa Marikina lang ho, ang kakaibahan nga lang namin sa ibang LGU ay meron kaming testing capacity. Kaya nalalaman din namin agad doon sa natitrace namin kung sino yung positive o negative. At kung positive naman, ay na-isolate natin agad siya at naibibigay yung supportive medical treatment na kailangan. Kaya nakukuha namin yung tamang ratio pati kung paano i-expand yung health facilities natin at pati yung treatment and monitoring facilities. At nagkakaroon din po kami dito dahil nag-open up nga ho tayo ng mga businesses ng enhanced targeted testing doon sa mga ino-open natin yung business. This is in coordination with Project ARC po. May mga test kit po kaming nakukuha sa kanila at pag naubos na po yung test kit na nakukuha namin sa kanila, from the local government po, we use our budget to build our capacity in testing. Capacity in testing is very important, Sir Harry.
Okay. Maraming salamat, Mayor. If you can join us po, kung meron tanong po ang Malacanang Press Corps sa inyo, we would appreciate that po, no?
Okay, salamat po.
Minention po ni Mayor ang Project ARC. Ang Project ARC po ay isang pribadong sector initiative na nakikipagbayanihan po sa gobyerno, lalong-lalo na po sa larangan ng testing. Kasama na po natin ngayon, nasa waiting room, papasukin na po natin sa ating screen si Presidential Advisor on Entrepreneurship, Joey Concepcion. PA Joey.
Hi. Good afternoon, Harry. Good afternoon.
Sinabi ko po kanina na itong project ninyo on food testing is a game changer. Pakisabi po sa ating mga nanonood ngayon, ano itong food testing at why is it a game changer? The floor is yours, PA Concepcion.
Katatapos lang yung press con namin. Halos almost 700 people attended the press con. So you can see yung interest ng mga LGUs, ng pribadong sector talagang very good, very high, no? At sumali dito si Dr. Raymond Lo ng PSP, si Dr. Relaciones ng PCMC, of course Dr. Robert Padua, and RITM Dr. Amado Tandok and DOH. So number one, the most important thing is, yes, pool testing will work, and we will start with pools of 5. Anong ibig sabihin ng pools of 5? The research was done with pools of 5, 10, and 20. So 5 people to 1 test kit, basically, that 5 people or 10 people or 20 people. So nakikita natin sa Amerika, ang ginamit nila, 4 people to a test kit, no? Dito sa Pilipinas, gagamitin namin 5 people or 5 samples to a test kit. Now, if a test kit tests positive, then you have to test everybody in that kit, no? But they will not have to swab because yung samples nandyan. So kukunin nila, what do you call this, they will keep the samples. So kung ma-test positive yung kit, then they will be able to test everybody in that using the samples, no, that they have. So hindi nila itatapon. So that's a good development. Kasi yung private sector right now, Harry, as we know, the President may announce whether we move to GCQ or stay where we are, no? At nakikita, dalawang strategy lang to. The first and most important strategy is massive targeted testing using antibody test kits nung dati ginamit natin nung March, nung lockdown natin kasi wala tayong capacity sa PCR. Ngayon, we've donated more equipments to the government hospitals, and now on top of individual PCR testing, we are moving towards pooled PCR testing. So today, the results were pretty good. And they want to be conservative. They will start with pools of 5 first. Down the road, kung yung prevalence natin, yung infection level ay babaksak, then they can be more aggressive and increase that down the road to pools of 10. No? So that will bring down the cost to about 750 pesos in pools of 5. No? And then number 2, the most important is the speed of testing will be faster because you will have now 5 people to a test kit rather than 1 person to 1 test kit. So mas mabilis and the capacity will increase. So many were asking questions, no, and you can see the interest level. So ang priority namin, Makati muna, mauuna with Mayor Binay, and then yung remaining cities, NCR at one municipality, is a supporter ng private sector. We have about 18 companies from the private sector who are going to support this program on the what we call research 2. No? So in our implementation ngayon to, pools of 5 within the cities of NCR because that's where the prevalence is the highest. No? And of course, the private sector is waiting on the wings because the return to work order na sinabi ni Secretary Bello is they prefer PCR testing. So this is another form. Kaysa 1:1 PCR testing, ito pools of 5 to 1 kit ang gagawin namin. No? So, and that's strategy number 1 because without testing, you cannot trace and you cannot isolate and you cannot treat. So testing is critical here, visibility. Second strategy is that we have to be consistent is you need testing to be able to determine the data of the infection level in the different barangays. So, yun ang kailangan localized granular lockdowns ng mga barangays, mga sitio. So, dalawa lang ang pag-isipan natin sa buong strategy on how to coexist with the virus. No? new ways of testing and database localized lockdown or granularized lockdown. If we are able to do that perfectly, syempre sa testing sunod-sunod lahat and tracing, isolating, etc., then I think we will be able to coexist with the virus and eventually beat the virus habang wala pang cure sa itong virus na to. No? So I was very happy with the press con today and the engagement of over close to 700 people who really attended from all sectors.
Siyempre po, no, itong pool testing, ibig sabihin times 5 na ang actual testing natin, divided by 5 na ang cost at mas mabilis. Pero bago po tayo pumunta sa open forum, and I hope you can stay for our open forum, PA Concepcion, Mayor Teodoro, ever since meron kayong sariling lab, magkakaroon pa ng pool testing ngayon, ang tanong, kamusta po ang kakayahan ng mga lokal na pamahalaan gaya ng Marikina pagdating naman sa isolation? Habang mas maraming natay-test, mas maraming magpopositibo, dumadami rin ba ho ang ating isolation centers, Mayor Teodoro?
Tama po yan, Sir Harry, dahil dumadami po yung natetest natin. For example, sa Marikina po, on the average, daily, we could do PCR tests to 800 individuals. Ganun karami. Ang pinakamarami naming na-test nung nakaraang linggo, on the average is 800. Meron kaming 1,000 tests minsan nagawa sa isang araw. This is based on our aggressive contact tracing. Doon sa isang batch namin in 3 days, 2,465 tests. Meron kaming 68 positive doon. So we needed for that 68 to be isolated immediately. What is good is that we're able to put up some temporary quarantine facilities here in Marikina. Meron po kaming Marikina Hotel na kinonvert na namin na treatment and monitoring facility accredited by the DOH, as well as yung aming Marikina Convention Center with capacity of 200 beds. Tapos sa interim naming facility, meron kami siguro capacity na around 145 beds. Marami tayong full capacity na po ito, Secretary. And what is good is that the DPWH is building another treatment and monitoring facility for Marikina for another 145 bed capacity. Ang challenge po talaga ay nung magbukas po tayo ng ating ng trabaho, marami po sa amin pupunta sa ibang lugar, kumingling mo yung tao eh. I think there should also be data sharing among the LGUs eh. Yung residente ng Marikina nagtatrabaho sa Makati, sa Taguig. So yung aming testing, makikita namin, matitrace namin as a source of infection is from another locality. So we forward those information to the concerned locality. Similarly, we offer our testing center to adjacent municipalities and cities in Marikina, tulad ng Antipolo, San Mateo. Minsan mga taga Quezon City, tinatanggap po namin dito magpa-test because we believe in the idea, kung safe po yung neighboring area namin, we will also be safe. There should be a network of communities working together in testing and tracing. And similarly, hopefully baka dumating na rin yung panahon that we could also share mga quarantine facilities through initiative of the LGUs here in our area in Marikina and in the eastern part of Rizal.
Mayor, yung mga DepEd school buildings, kailan nyo po magagamit yan as isolation facilities?
Meron po kaming request ng mga DepEd buildings, Sec Harry. Pero we're trying to maximize first the existing structures of the local government unit before we use the facilities of our schools. Dahil yung mga facilities natin ng school dito sa Marikina, Secretary, ay ginagamit for capacity building ngayon ng mga teachers in preparation for the opening of classes. Saka yung mga ganong activities, Secretary. Pero we are prepared to use the school building in case that there will be a need.
Okay, maraming salamat. Pumunta na po tayo sa open forum. Wala akong cue card, so bahala na si Batman. No? Unahin natin si Joyce Balancio, DZMM. Go ahead please. At they requested, dahil 4 lang daw sila na online, if they could ask 4 questions, I think that's reasonable. You can have 4 questions, but I think Yusek Roque will still join us, no, for questions sent to her. No? Go ahead, Joyce.
Good afternoon po, Secretary Roque, and to our guests. Opo, sinabi po ng MMDA that the Metro Manila mayors are asking or recommending for a stricter GCQ after August 18. Pero ang gusto po nila, it's a restricted type of GCQ pa rin, opening of the economy, pero mas mahigpit. Kagaya daw po nung July 1 na in-implement natin. So as of now, nasa na po ang IATF in planning out the post-August 18 scenario. And ito po ba recommendation ng Metro Manila mayors? Is it similar to what we will be recommending to the President in the meeting later?
Well, kung sasagutin ko po yan, sinabi ko na kung ano magiging desisyon ni Presidente. No? So hayaan na muna natin, konting panahon na lang po yan. Pero ang masasabi ko lang po, ang IATF naman po, palagi pong kinukonsulta, lalong-lalo na ang mga Metro Manila mayors. Kasi sa Metro Manila, hindi mo naman po pwedeng i-isolate ang isang syudad, no? Dahil magkakatabi po yan, and it constitutes one geographic unit. No? So perhaps I can confirm na ang recommendation din ng mga mayor ay GCQ, pero yung GCQ po nung buwan ata ng Hunyo, na mas mahigpit kaysa doon sa eventual na GCQ na pinapatupad ngayon. At yan naman po ay pinakinggan ng mabuti, ng masusi ng IATF at in-incorporate po yan sa kanilang rekomendasyon kay Presidente. Okay, next question.
Apo. Secretary Roque, si former DICT Acting Secretary Eliseo Rio posted on his Facebook account this weekend a message conveying his disappointments over IATF's recent decisions that he said have allegedly caused the rise of COVID-19 cases, permanent closure of businesses, health workers asking for a timeout, etc., etc. He emphasized po, Secretary Roque, the proposal he sent before sa IATF, but this was rejected by the gatekeepers of the IATF, and he said we are now suffering the consequences. Yung proposal daw po niya, it's being implemented effectively in other countries. He mentioned the gatekeepers of the IATF are preventing, allegedly, contributions of talented groups and individuals. Some proposals that are better than the systems we are using now. Any reaction po?
Ang alam ko, yung rekomendasyon ni former Yusek ay bumuo ng bagong software. Pero ang kinakailangan natin yung software na meron na at gumagana. At ang naging decision po ay kunin yung offer ng safety.ph. Libre naman po ito, walang gastos sa gobyerno. At ngayon po, ginagamit ito o gagamitin ito in conjunction with yung libreng apps din ng Google at ng Apple. Nagkaroon lang po tayo ng mga kinakailangan plantsahin pagdating dun sa ating data privacy law. At naayos po yan kasi dinonate na ng safety.ph ang lahat ng informasyon o mga datos na makakalap niya sa ating gobyerno. Ang may hawak na po niyan ay DOH. So sa mga darating pong mga araw na lang, hindi po linggo, magkakaroon po tayo ng demonstration dito sa ating press briefing kung paano po gumagana yung safety.ph app in conjunction with the Google and Apple app na ginagamit po ngayon sa buong mundo. So ang alam ko po, ang papatupad natin ngayon is in sync with what many countries in the world are using. Dahil libre naman po yung programa na dinevelop jointly ng Google at ng Apple.
Follow-up ko lang dun, Secretary, sa first question ko. He mentioned po kasi that the gatekeepers of IATF are allegedly rejecting or preventing contributions of talented groups and individuals. Any reaction to this, sir?
Hindi naman po. Kaya lang, kinakailangan linawin lang dahil meron din tayong mga requirements pagdating sa procurement. Even if we have a Bayanihan 1 Act, one thing I discovered, kasi nga po tayo rin ang in charge sa strategic communication, na hindi pala ibig sabihin na may Bayanihan Act, pwede ka nang kumuha kahit kanino. I've had also to incur delay doon sa ad campaign na ilo-launch natin dahil ang ginawa namin, akala namin dahil may Bayanihan Act, pwede nilang kami magsabi, hoy, gawan mo ako ng ganitong ad at pag nandiyan na, pwede nang gamitin. Hindi pala ganon. Meron talagang proseso na dapat sundin miski it is considered as an emergency procurement and that caused delay of almost a month din dito sa ating proyekto na kaya na nating i-unveil. No? So yun lang po yung aking nadiskubre na even with Bayanihan Act that authorizes emergency purchases at hindi na po dapat dumaan sa lahat ng proseso ng 9184, meron pa rin pong proseso na nasusunod. Ang nangyari lang po siguro yung app na gusto ni Secretary Rio ay hindi po pwedeng pumasok even for purposes of emergency procurement. Meron pa rin po tayo mga rules that we need to comply with. Yun lang po.
Apo. Secretary Roque, si Attorney Larry Gadon, nag-trend po siya sa social media for not properly wearing his face mask. Nakatape, yung lumabas po na picture, nakatape po kasi yung face mask niya sa face shield. At ang explanation po niya, he does not believe that wearing face masks can prevent spread of COVID-19 and the government overreacted and paranoia lang daw po itong utos natin na gumamit tayo ng face mask. Ang sabi po niya, kung effective daw po ang face mask, baka daw po umaabot sa more than 100,000 ang COVID-19 cases. Curable daw po ang COVID. One should only take traditional Chinese medicine. Any reaction to these kinds of statements?
Hindi naman po, Doktor, kasi si Larry Gadon, yan po panyero ko. So let that be his personal opinion. Pero ang mga doktor po, ang mga dalubhasa, nagsasabi na ang pagsusuot po ng maskara can reduce the risk of acquiring the disease by as much as 85%. Kung sasamahan pa yan ng face shield, almost 90+% po ang probability na mapoprotektahan tayo laban sa COVID. Sana po wag na tayo mag-antay na tayo pa maging susunod na biktima. Alam na po natin yan sa buong mundo. Epektibo po ang pagsusuot ng face mask, paghuhugas ng kamay, at pagsusocial distancing.
Apo, last na po for me, Secretary talaga. Reaction po natin, sinabi po ng PhilHealth spokesperson in a interview this morning, yung EXECOM or yung Executive Committee ng PhilHealth, they will also be filing their leave of absence. Bukod pa po dito sa 6 vice presidents and also 14 PhilHealth officials, including their president, General Ricardo Morales, has also signed yung bank secrecy waivers. Reaction to this, sir, and how will this affect the ongoing investigation of our task group?
Hallelujah is all I have to say. That's good for them, good for the country.
Thank you, Secretary.
Hey, thank you. Now, pupunta tayo kay Yusek Roque if it is possible. Yusek Roque, are you on the house? Hello, are you in the house?
Yes.
Mukhang Yusek
Yes,
Roque
good
is not
morning.
in the house. So I don't know.
Good morning,
Siguro i-text nyo lang
Secretary.
sa akin yung mga tanong ng ibang miyembro ng Malacanang Press Corps. Let me see kung nasa akin nga. Dali lang po at check ko bago natin tawagan itong susunod na magtatanong. Wait, ha? Wait, ito. Pinadala pala sa akin ng question. Wait, pero additional question to eh. Sandali, Well, as a Queenie, ayun. Ito. Okay, question. Ito pala. So ako na rin magbabasa ng question, ha? Okay. Kung wala si Yusek Roque, ako na po magbabasa ng first question. Pinadala naman pula po nila. From Francis Wakefield of Tribune, can we get latest update on the condition, health status of the president following reports that he went to Singapore daw for medical treatment? Is there a need for concern po ba on the part of the people? Wala po. Lininaw ko po sa isang statement kahapon na fake news po yung pag-alis ng Pilipinas ng ating presidente. Nananatili po siya sa Davao o hindi po siya umalis ng Pilipinas and his health is fine. Kung kami po hindi nagtuloy ng Davao because nag-positive na po si Secretary Anyo, it's just concern also for the health of the president and in compliance with health protocols. Kasi ang sabi naman po ng health protocols natin, mag-isolate yung mga nagkaroon ng close contact with COVID positive. So kaya nga po nandito tayo kung broadcast po tayo ngayon. No? Next question also from Francis Wakefield. Halos 2 weeks na since MECQ was enforced sa NCR and for other provinces and yet COVID cases on a daily basis has not gone down. Will this be a factor in PRD's decision to extend MEGCQ or balik GCQ given na apektado na talaga ang ekonomiya? Well, alam niyo po, ang tinitingnan natin ay yung case doubling rate at saka yung clusters of COVID cases sa Metro Manila at saka tinitingnan din natin yung critical care capacity. Now, so far po, hindi naman po lumalala ang ating case doubling rate at dahil nga po today, August 17, nag-inaugurate tayo ng 250-bed capacity dyan sa East Avenue Medical Center na that will cater exclusively to COVID patients. Naging naibsan po yung ating critical care capacity pero mga nakalipang araw, hindi naman po siya nasa danger level. No? So wala po sa danger level ang critical care capacity natin in the past few days at lalo pang bumuti ang health care capacity with a 250-bed additional COVID beds no, at East Avenue Medical Center. So ang sagot, of course, the cases will always have an impact on the decision. Pero sa tingin ko po, alam na natin na magtatagal ang COVID sa buong mundo at hindi lang sa Pilipinas. At alam na natin kung paano mabuhay with, despite, and in spite of COVID. Is it true that PRRD had a meeting with Mayor Miswari Sunday afternoon? If yes, napag-usapan ba yung tungkol sa ASG leader na si Edang Susukan, other issues? Wala pong katotohanan na nagkaroon ng meeting si Presidente kay Nur Miswari. Now, I call on Joseph Morong now, GMA. Joseph.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon. Hi.
Go ahead.
Ayan. Sir, yun po muna kay Sec Anyo. Sino po sa inyo ang mga naka-self-isolate because he had a meeting with the President August 10? That's the reference point. And if you are on self-isolation, is the President also on self-isolation because he was in the meeting during on August 10?
Well, ako kasi, the reason why I went on self-isolation, it's a personal decision kasi kasabay ko rin sa eroplano si Sec Anyo. Pero ang Presidente naman po, technically, wala siyang close contact. And kung we will go by the book, hindi siya nag-close contact dahil malayo po kami lahat kay Presidente at naka-face shield at saka naka-face mask. No? Pero I believe the others po are also on self-isolation now. No? Even if it is not required. Ako po kasi, bilang tagapagsalita, I need to serve by way of example to others. No? Na since I had close contact na rin po yun, kasi nasa aeroplano kami, magkasabay kami sa aeroplano, no? Mabuti pang mag-isolate. Pero mag-isolate po ako 5 days, tapos magpapa-PCR po ako para malaman. Kasi ang sabi nila, effective naman daw ang at accurate ang PCR test 5 days upon contact.
Yeah. Sir, pero I think the definition of DOH pag close contact is that if you are in the same room for more than 15 minutes and then you are at some kind of distance, I'm sure the President and Secretary Anyo interacted. So
well,
that's the first point. And then
the President is in perpetual isolation because no one can come close to him. I think sinabi ko na sa inyo, then whenever we meet with him, there is a velvet rope, no, that keeps him at least 6 feet away from everyone else. No? So no one can really come close to the President. So I guess my answer is he's in perpetual isolation in the sense that PSG has done a very good job in making sure that no one really comes close to the President.
And we don't need to PCR test the President?
He does undergo regular PCR tests. Nagrereklamo siya nga no, dahil paulit-ulit na yung pagsundot sa ilong niya. No? The last time I heard him, ako, sundot na naman ako ng ilong, no? And I think it's also because it's a requirement of Davao City Mayor Sara, no? Whenever he goes back to Davao, and he complies with the requirements of the local government.
Sir, okay, question ko po sa MECQ. Yun pong mga researchers from UP Octa Research, I'm sure you're familiar with them, no? If you go by the two data analytics that you mentioned, critical care capacity, at saka yung case doubling medyo okay pa siya. But yung positivity rate, it has 17. Critical care facility utilization is in danger yung at least 8 LGUs in Metro Manila. So it doesn't look good as far as our decision to extend or whether to extend the MECQ or not based on the data of the researchers.
Well, I differ po doon sa sinasabi nila na dangerous on the 8 LGUs kasi meron na po tayong one hospital command center. So sa atin po, because of the one hospital command center, we're utilizing all our bed capacities as if we have one giant hospital in the entirety of Metro Manila and including even the bed capacity of the adjoining provinces. So meron po tayong effective referral system na kung puno na sa isang hospital, alam nila yung susunod na pinakamalapit na hospital na pupuntahan. Kinakailangan lang gamitin ng ating mga mamamayan yung hotline para alam nila kung saan sila pupunta. Yan lang po yung paraan para maiwasan yung pila sa ER. No? At kung tatawagan nyo naman po yung hotline, hindi lang kayo pipila dahil alam nyo na kung saan pupunta. And of course, I have to add that today we're inaugurating 250 beds exclusively for COVID in East Avenue. So that would debunk the claim that we are at a dangerous level as far as critical care capacity is concerned. Hindi po. Ang solusyon lang po sa critical care capacity, dagdagan ng mga kama. Ang una pong na-inaugurate today, 250 bed capacity. Kasama rin po dyan yung mga IC units. Ang susunod po, additional ICU beds, dyan po sa Quirino, dyan po sa PGH. No? At ang susunod po dyan, 500 bed capacity isolation rooms na dinonate po ng Razon Group dyan po sa Nayong Pilipino. Lahat po yan may inaugurate in the coming weeks. Yung isolation facility po for 500, I understand it will take them 2 weeks to set up the tent, no, and to install all the equipment needed.
So mukhang GCQ tayo, sir. And a related question, sir, clarification.
Ako sumagot na GCQ tayo, ha? I'd like to clarify. Wala akong sinabing ganyan. Medyo confusion.
Of course. Sir, ganito, clarification. The meeting is tonight and the announcement is tonight or tomorrow?
Well, let's hope that the meeting does not take long because there will still be a meeting and it's the meeting that takes long. The message of the President at the end of the meeting is normally short. But siguro I will prompt everyone, tapusin na natin ng maaga. Kasi pag Viber, pag Zoom, we generally tend to be straight to the point. Wala nang meandering. No? So baka naman mas maaga mabigay ang anunsyo.
So tonight the meeting, tonight the announcement, yeah?
Well, I can't assure you that tonight will be the announcement, but the meeting will be tonight.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we go back to the questions. Let me see. I miss Yusek Rocky reading the questions. Wait lang po. Okay. Ito po. From Mylene Alfonso of Bulgar, Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan questioned the designation of cabinet officials as big brothers in charge of the respective LGUs, saying they instead need competent and upright national government leaders in dealing with COVID-19 pandemic. Micromanagement daw ang ginawa ng national government sa pagtatalaga ng mga cabinet members sa mga LGUs at action please. Alam niyo naman, malapit na electionist itong si Senator Pangilinan. Di ako nagtataka sa mga maanghang na salita niya. Pero if you go by the track record of his own party, in similar disasters, his own party had dismal performance. So ang sagot ko lang po dyan, everyone's doing their best dahil kapag tayo po ay pumalya, baka sariling pamilya rin namin na mag-suffer sa COVID. Wala pong such a thing as natutulog sa pansitan dahil lahat po tayo under threat from COVID. We all have families. We all have to take care of them. So all members of the ITF give it their best shot because they know eventually it may enter their homes. So ganyan pong kadedicated ang mga miyembro ng mga ITF knowing na ang susunod na biktima ay po pwedeng kapamilya nila. Nagbabala si Senador Richard Gordon na mapipilitan silang ipatigil ang COVID-19 testing ng Philippine Red Cross kapag hindi nagbabayad ngayong araw ang PhilHealth ng kanilang balanse na abot sa halos 1 bilyong piso. Paano ito mababayaran? Paano na rin ang free swab testing para sa returning overseas Filipino workers who have been displaced by the pandemic? Well, in answer to the threat, no, there are now in excess of 101 laboratories doing PCR testing. At in fact, while the PNRC is still the biggest testing center, accounting for around 12% of the market, yung susunod po is around 11% of the market. No? At yung susunod na 11% sa market caters almost exclusively to seamen, no? Dahil sila po yung mga umaakit ng mga barko. So ang sa akin po, hindi naman po tayo magkakaroon ng highest actual testing PCR test being conducted kung umaasa lang tayo sa isang laboratory. Hindi na po, 101 million. Although malaking kawalan po yan pag tumigil ang PNRC. At ang masasabi ko lang po, now that the focus is on PhilHealth, maasahan naman siguro natin na maiiwasan yung delays sa pag-reimburse ng PhilHealth. Pero sana, paalalahanan ko rin po ang PNRC. Dati-dati naman po, nagkaroon na rin naman ng advance ang gobyerno sa kanila. So kung medyo naantala po, konting pasensya lang po. And I'm sure that because PNRC is led by Senator Richard Gordon, it will be a priority po. No? Let's just wait until they thresh out kung ano man yung nagiging problema ngayon sa PhilHealth. At sana po, tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang pagte-testing because we consider PNRC as a very important partner of government in the testing capacity. Now, I call on Trisha Tirada now, CNN, please.
Hi, Secretary. Magandang tanghali po ulit. Sir, follow-up lang po dun sa PhilHealth. No? Now that General Morales is on leave, sino po yung magiging OIC or caretaker ng PhilHealth? And at the same time, sir, paano po plano solusyonan ng government yung problem nga po doon sa pagbabayad sa mga hospitals ng yung mga delayed payments po?
Alam ko po, meron naman pong OIC dahil nag-medical leave na po ang PhilHealth. Di ko lang po alam kung sino talaga yung tinalagang OIC. But that's not something that the President has to appoint. Meron na pong internal system ang lahat ng mga GOCCs kung sino mag-OIC kung ang Presidente po goes on leave. No? So that's in place po. If I'm not mistaken, it will be one of the Vice Presidents, but not any of the controversial Vice Presidents. No? Now, yung pagbabayad po ng PNRC, well, yan po ngayon ay tinitignan ng lahat, hindi lang po ng Senado, pati po ng DOJ, yung task force na binuo ng Presidente. Nais kong iulat sa inyo na araw-araw po dumidinig ng mga testimonya itong task force neto. At from what little I know of their proceedings, very encouraging po ang mga impormasyon na nakakalap ng task force natin. So pagdating po doon sa pagbabayad ng PhilHealth, siguro po it's a step towards the right direction na tinigil na nila yung advances nila, no? Lalong-lalo na doon sa mga lugar na wala namang COVID para magamit po yung natitirang salipipan ng PhilHealth para doon sa mga gastos na talagang COVID-related, no? Dito sa mga hospitals and regions that are actually catering to COVID patients.
Secretary, doon naman po sa SWS survey, there's this SWS survey saying that adult joblessness is now up to 45.5% in July. At half of that, or half of these adults lost their jobs due to pandemic. Secretary, ano pong plano ng government tungkol dito? And how are we going to make sure na yung magiging mga plano po ng Labor Department in particular, hindi po magiging maganda lang in theory or in paper po?
Well, Trish, magugulat ka ba na nawalan ng trabaho sila? Samantalang buwan-buwan nang inaabot na naka-lockdown ng ating ekonomiya. Ako po'y nagagalak na hindi tayo 100% nawalan ng trabaho. Kasi sa tagal po na naka-lockdown tayo, talagang I'm still surprised at our resilience at 45% pa lang po nawawalan ng trabaho. It could have been worse kasi nga po, complete lockdown ang nangyayari sa atin. Ano pong hakbang na gagawin? Intense po ang debate sa IATF at sa kabinete between those who want to open the economy and those who want to continue closing it because of the threat. I personally belong to the school of thought na we can live with COVID. We need to learn how to live our lives with COVID. At ilulunsad na nga po natin yung ating kampanya na ingat buhay para sa hanap buhay. Ang solusyon po, kinakailangan buksan na ekonomiya. Dahil talaga naman pong wala pa rin trabaho ang karamihan kung mananatili ang mga lockdowns. At tingin ko po, pagamat mainit po ang debate sa IATF at nandyan po yung UP Octa Group na nagsasabi kinakailangan manatili pa rin sarado ang ekonomiya, well, sabihin po natin yan doon sa mga walang trabaho dahil sarado ang ekonomiya. At kung wala po tayong ayuda, ano pang solusyon natin, no? Kung hindi buksan na ito. Pero aadresin po yan ni Presidente mamaya. In his infinite wisdom, we are confident that the President will make the right decision.
Secretary, in case po mag-move tayo to GCQ, can we expect a stricter GCQ? Kumbaga yung mga category 4 po noon na na-recategorize to category 3, pwede po ba sila magbukas? I'm asking this, sir, kasi I understand kung ano man po maging decision ni Pangulo tonight or tomorrow man po i-release, magti-take effect siya August 18, tomorrow din po.
Well, pwede bang bukas na natin pag-usapan yan? Kita-kita naman tayo muli bukas ulit, no? Online. At we will have the proper announcements naman. I'm sure whatever the decision of the President will be, meron yung mga, kumbaga, package na kasama, no? Dahil we still need to address the rising numbers of COVID-19. So, can I ask you to defer that question for tomorrow?
All right. Thank you, Secretary. Maraming salamat.
Now, question now from Chris Jose of Remate. Strike 2 na po si DILG Sec Anyo sa pagpositibo sa COVID-19. Sa public address ng Pangulo noong nakaraang linggo ay kasama si Sec Anyo. Sa tingin nyo, kailangan bang magpa-swab test muli ang Pangulo at ibang cabinet officials para masiguro kung positibo o negatibo po sa virus? Kamusta na po ang Pangulo ngayon? okay po ang Pangulo. Ang sabi ko nga, regular ang kanyang swab test. Wala pong may gusto ng swab test kasi parang habang mas marami kang swab test, parang sumasakit yung pagtusok sa ating mga ilong, no? Pero kinakailangan po yan dahil alam naman ni Presidente na kinakailangan pangalagaan ng kanyang buhay. Kaming lahat pong kabinete na dapat pupunta sa kanya sa Davao, nagpa-swab po kami. Kaya nga po nalaman na positive si Secretary Anyo kasi rini-require po ni Mayor Sara na lahat ng papasok sa Davao within 72 hours ay mag-PCR. At doon nga po na-discover na positibo si Sec Anyo. Okay? So the President is fine. Melo Acuña, please.
Magandang araw po, Secretary Roque. I'm just as curious as anybody else. Kayo ay naka-self-isolation at ganun din yung ibang members ng gabinete. Paano po ninyo dinadaluhan yung mga local government units in Metro Manila and nearby provinces na may mga problema pa rin tungkol sa COVID-19? For example, kayo nasa Pasay.
Ako po kasi I'm assigned to Pasay. No? Ang plano ko sana makipagkita kay Mayor Emmy dahil ako naman po yung taga-Pasay na Taal. No? Pero hindi po mangyayari yon dahil ako ay naka-self-isolation. Mag-Zoom meeting na lang po kami ni Mayor Emmy kasama sana yung kanyang epidemiological officer at saka yung city health officer niya. So, napakaganda naman po ng teknolohiya kung hindi po pwedeng face-to-face, nag-Zoom meeting.
Meron po kaya tayong specific programs para sa unemployment? Binanggit nyo kanina, Papyaw, merong diskusyon ang IATF at ang iba pang mga sakay ng pamahalaan. Pero would you have any idea kung anong gagawin ng gobyerno para matugunan yung unemployment?
Well, meron po tayong programa sa DOLE. Dalawa po yan. Yung AKAP para dun sa mga nawalan ng trabaho at saka yung work for pay na tupad. No? At bukod pa po dyan, nakapaloob na po sa Bayanihan 2 yung stimulus package na pinag-uusapan natin. Magpapautang po tayo ng mas maraming pera sa mga magsasaka, sa mga maliliit na mga negosyante, small and medium enterprises, at magkakaroon po tayo ng mga credit guarantees. No? So sa turismo po, ang isang proposal na nanggagaling sa Senado, 10 billion package na pwede nilang utangin at low interest rates. So in other words po, gagamitin po natin hindi lang yung kaban ng bayan, kundi mga inutang natin para ma-stimulate po ang economy. And the best way of stimulating the economy is number one, yung work for pay program natin, gaya ng tupad. At number two, yung financial assistance to small and medium enterprises. At number three, hindi po natin naalis yung possibility of providing assistance dun sa mga strategic industries bagamat hindi po sila small and medium scale.
Baka po pwede magtanong kay Mayor Marcy Teodoro ng Marikina kung nasa linya pa siya.
Opo, Sir Melo.
Opo, magandang araw po. Interesado po ako, mula po nung nagkaroon ng COVID-19, tumaas po ba yung kriminalidad sa inyong lugar?
Tinitingnan ko yung index crime natin, Melo, saka yung mga report, daily report. Actually, bumaba at halos zero yung yung criminality, yung rate of criminality. Marahil siguro nasa bahay ang marami, lesser ang activity sa mga public areas na kung saan doon nangyayari ang krimen. Kaya siguro bumaba accordingly.
Opo. Mayor Marcy, sinasabi ang pinakamarami raw rugby boys nasa Marikina dahil gumagawa ng sapatos. Ano po ang naging impact ng COVID-19 sa inyong shoe industry?
Una, natigil ang pagpapagawa ng marami. Halos 80% ay natigil. Yung 20%, kaya hindi siya natigil kasi ang kanyang platform na ginagamit sa marketing at sa pagtitinda ay yung digital o virtual. Kaya nga nag-shift kami ngayon ng platform sa pagmamarket at pagtitinda on a digital platform.
Okay po. Pero yung mga nawalan ng trabaho, paano niyo inaalalayan?
Una, meron kaming constant consultation sa mga, hindi lang sa magsasapatos, Melo, pati yung mga primary manufacturing and industrial group dito sa Marikina. Unang-una, kailangan masiguro natin na COVID-free yung kanilang work setting para hindi matigil yung production o kaya yung kanilang operation So inaalalayan natin sila sa ganung paraan. Meron tayong maliban doon sa enhanced targeted testing na mag-open ng economy natin, ay meron tayong para ma-check na COVID-free yung mga manggagawa. No? Maliban doon, may surveillance testing tayong ginagawa. Upang sa ganon, malaman kung may resurgence ng COVID sa work setting. Titigilan lahat pag may COVID. Sa reconfiguration of their work areas, tumutulong tayo. Hindi lang technical aspect na nagbibigay tayo sa kanilang reconfiguration plan, tulad halimbawa kung paano ma-observe yung minimum health standard, yung paano i-maintain yung negative pressure sa isang work area para yung malinis na hangin ang pumapasok at lalabas yung paano magsagawa ng unidirectional protocol doon sa mga manggagawang papasok at lalabas, paano social distancing. Nagtutulong tayo technically para ipakita yung plano at paano i-observe to. Maliban pa doon sa mga local social amelioration natin. Ang isa pa naming tinutulong, ang malaking problema ng mga manggagawang pumapasok ay yung transportation. In the absence of a public transportation, nagbibigay tayo dito sa Marikina ng libreng sakay, free shuttle, in cooperation or in coordination with the different manufacturing and industrial plants dito. Lang talaga, magtutulong-tulong lang talaga tayo kailangan. Of course, tax relief could help, but what we're doing here in Marikina to preserve jobs is to keep the business economy afloat. Yun yung mahalaga. Meron last point ko lang, hindi pwedeng iasa sa pamahalaan ng lahat ang pag-iingat sa COVID para makaiwas, kailangan gawin ng lahat Yung social distancing, tao naman talaga ang gagawa nun pagsusuot ng mask, ini-enforce natin. Nung nakaraang araw, ang nahuli namin, ang crime dito ngayon sa Marikina tumataas, yung not wearing of face mask meron kaming 200 kahapon nahuli, hindi nagsusuot ng mask sa mga public areas, palengke, grocery. Pero sinasabi namin hindi po pwedeng hinuhuli ka lang Dapat mag-ingat ka talaga para sa iyo yun para sa kaligtasan mo.
Maraming salamat po. Thank you very much, Secretary.
Our next question, thank you, Melo, is from Eileen Taliping of Abante Tonight. May pananagutan ba si Chairman Nunweswari sa pagkakandong na naarestong Abusaya Freebird na si Idang Susukan? Ayon po sa PNP, nasa puder ni Miswari ang ASG leader ng ilang araw bago ito nalaman ng pulisya. Well, hindi ko po alam. Dahil hindi ko po alam ang actual circumstance na kung bakit naroroon si Susukan. Pero ang pagkakaintindi ko po, it was Chairman Nunweswari who arranged the surrender. Okay, surrender po yung nangyari. No? So hindi naman po siya ng kandong talaga. No? So yun po, but I do not know for sure kasi wala po akong access to information talaga. No? Meron pa pong tanong dito from Kilian Cortez, Business World. What is the palace statement on the latest SW adult joblessness rate? What is the government doing at the moment to help produce jobs for people despite the pandemic? Nasagot ko na po yan. We are, of course, saddened, but that's to be expected with the lockdowns that we've had because of COVID-19. I think government is looking at opening the economy and providing financial assistance to small and medium-scale enterprises and also assistance to strategic businesses, no? Even if it is not small and medium scale. Now, tignan po natin kung meron pang questions. Tignan ko lang po. Julie Aurelio. Julie Aurelio. Ayun, Rocky, you're here. Rocky, yes, please read that question from Julie Aurelio, please.
Good afternoon, Secretary. Pasensya na po. Okay. Ito po yung tanong ni, sandali lang po, wala lang ako. Tanong ni Julie Aurelio, So natanong niyo na ba yung tanong din ni Jillian kanina, ni Jillian Cortez ng Business World? Ito pa tanong ni Julie Aurelio, does the palace believe that MNLF Chair Nur Miswari should be liable for keeping or harboring Abu Sayyaf leader Abdul Jihad Idang Susukan?
Well, ang alam ko po ay he arranged for the surrender, no? So in terms of criminal liability, medyo highly unlikely po kasi parang he really arranged for Susukan to surrender. Hindi po nahuli si Susukan dahil tinatago ni Nur Miswari. Parang hindi po ganon. Parang he really arranged that authorities will apprehend Susukan in his residence on that given day.
Opo, yung second question niya, I understand, Secretary, medyo binanggit nyo na rin kanina, pero babasahin ko na rin yung question niya. What are the IATF's recommendation to be presented to PRRD o President Duterte tonight for the community quarantine classification for Metro Manila, Bulacan, Laguna, Cavite, and Rizal? How did the LGUs daw po respond to the recommendations and were there any appeals?
Okay. Well, yung initial appeals po meron, no? Meron pong, well, na-announce ko na yan yung appeals, di ba? Kasi everywhere else naman, na-announce natin before yung classification. At yung mga in-announce natin, meron pong 3 lugar na nag-apila ron. Pero for Metro Manila and the 4 provinces, let's just say po, unanimous naman po ang rekomendasyon ng IATF at saka ng mga Metro Manila mayors kay Presidente.
Okay. Susunod pong tanong ay, hindi ko lang po alam kung nabanggit nyo na rin pito, pero ang susunod pong tanong ay kay Aileen Taliping. Ang sabi po daw...
Tapos na sa Aileen Taliping.
Yung second question po niya about Senator Richard Gordon's PhilHealth.
Tapos na po. Tapos na.
Okay.
Mayroon pang additional question ata si Julie Aurelio.
Opo. From Julie Aurelio, what does the palace daw po think of the dinner held in Baguio City for PNP Chief General Archie Gamboa? The DILG denied that there was a party, but it was a dinner for Gamboa held at the Navy base in Baguio City, despite community quarantine restrictions. It is the second time that a PNP official allegedly disregarded these restrictions. Will the palace ask Gamboa to explain his actions or hold him accountable?
Well, hindi ko po alam kung talaga nagkaroon ng ganyang party, no? But ang masasabi ko lang po, number 1, we will check with General Gamboa if there was such a party. And then number 2, we will, kung nagkaroon ng party, then we will ask for explanation. Although, ang Baguio City po is under MGCQ, ha? Ang Baguio City is under MGCQ, hindi po siya MECQ. So, ang MGCQ allowed po up to 50% capacity. Kung di ako nagkakamali, no? Ang MGCQ like Baguio City. Pero titingnan po natin. No? But in the first place, I cannot comment because hindi ko po alam kung talaga nagkaroon ng ganyang party sa Baguio.
Opo. Follow-up naman po ni Alvin Baltasar ng Radyo Pilipinas. September 2 daw po ang retirement na ni PNP Chief Gamboa. Sino daw po ang napipisil ni Presidenteng papalit? Ilan po ang nasa list ni Pangulong Duterte na kandidato para sa next PNP Chief?
I-announce ko na lang po siguro kung sino magiging next PNP Chief. Hindi naman po inaantay yung birthday ng retiring PNP Chief bago mag-anunsyo ng kapalit. Meron po yung mga 1-week interval. No? So malapit na po natin i-announce yan.
Opo. Tanong naman po ni Vance Fernandez, when there are anomalies daw po in government agencies and departments, President Duterte is known for revamping daw po those departments and agencies. And with new appointments, will President Duterte do the same with PhilHealth para exposing corruption within the institution?
Well, pinaubaya pa muna ni Presidente yung investigasyon sa kanyang task force. And gaya na sinabi ko kanina, araw-araw po dumidinig ng testimonya ang task force para ma-uncover kung anong katotohanan na nangyari dyan sa PhilHealth. Opo,
Secretary, hindi ko lang po alam kung natanong na rin po ito kasi may tanong po si Cedric Castillo ng GMA7 para po sana kay Presidential Assistant Joe Concepcion po sana.
Ay, Joey, paalis na si Joey. Joey, are you still here? Joey? Nako, umalis na po si Joey, nagpaalam. Pero ano po yung tanong niya?
Ang tanong po ni Cedric Castillo, paano daw po yung funding ng procurement ng pool testing? Also, sustainability test today, pero pwedeng ma-expose ulit bukas.
Well, anyway, ito po yung private sector initiative, yung pilot study at saka clinical studies for the testing. And it is paid exclusively by the private sector, Go Negosyo, and BDO Foundation.
Opo, may tanong din po para kay para kay PA Concepcion, pero baka rin po pwede na rin sa inyo. From Chris Mundo of Philippine News Agency, can you explain how are you going to identify those people na magkakasama sa isang pool? Can you expound on that?
Well, ang gagawin po yan sa isang area, limang tao po ang kukunin nila, no? I think it can be at random, but it has to be the same area. Pero tatanungin po natin uli si PA Concepcion. Kakapaalam lang po ni PA Concepcion without hearing these questions, no? Pero alam ko po at random yan. Alam lang nila kung nasaan para kapag negative, lahat sila negative. Pag positive, then check po sila uli.
Okay. Okay, salamat Secretary Roque. Yun lang po yung mga nakuha na natin tanong sa ating mga kasamahan sa Malacanang Press Corps.
Okay, maraming salamat Yusek Rocky. Maraming salamat sa lahat ng ating naging panauhin. Mayor Teodoro, PA Concepcion, at maraming salamat din po sa mga miyembro ng Malacanang Press Corps. Hanggang bukas po muli, sa ngalan ng ating Presidente Rodrigo Roa Duterte, ito po ang inyong spokes, Harry Roque, nagsasabi, keep safe Philippines, and good afternoon to all of you.
Philippines' newest morning news show is Rising with Dayan Querer, Gabayan, and Aljo Bendijo. Rise and Shine, Pilipinas. Premiere September 7, Monday morning at 7.
Narito na, dumadagundong ang lahat ng Pilipino sumalubong. Unlad Pilipinas. Ipakikita sa mundo ang galing ng Pilipino. Ibabahagi ng batikang broadcaster na si Cesar Soriano ang mga proyekto at kaganapang patuloy na sumusulong sa iba't ibang dako ng Pilipinas. Unlad Pilipinas. Dito lang sa PTV. Unlad Pilipinas.
It's not about the flash or the spin. It's about shining the light on the real numbers.
People, technology, trends. If people are talking about it, we're on it.
We give you context, balance, accuracy, even as we follow the trail of development and change.
It's news. Never sensational, always factual. Catch it at the end of the day here on PTV News Tonight.